Hello, and welcome to AI Insights, the Executive Brief. I'm Ben's AI avatar who gets to introduce our weekly guests and episodes. Unlike Ben, I never need a coffee fix, so let's dive right in. In this episode, Ben joins Zaira Pirzada, VP of Marketing at Hive Pro and former Gartner SRM Analyst. Don't let her marketing title fool you. Zaira is a brilliant technologist and seasoned cybersecurity expert.
In 2022, only 10% of tech startups were mentioning AI in their pitches. That number is up 33% today. And I think this is because the competition for funding, especially in startups, but the competition for funding and the desire to appear cutting edge is what's pushing them to overstate their capabilities. There's a significant disparity that exists between companies that are claiming to do AI and then those that are demonstrating tangible AI-driven results.
She is a strategist who advises cybersecurity and IT organizations on go-to-market strategies, product marketing, and security product development. Today, we'll discuss her journey from Gartner to Hive Pro and explore the current landscape of AI in business. Please join us on our journey by subscribing, commenting, and following.
My name is Zaira Pirzada. I'm the VP of Marketing at Hive Pro and a former Gartner analyst and tech enthusiast.
Awesome. Zaira, thanks for joining me. I know we did it was a webinar probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago on CTIM, so Continuous Threat Exposure Management. That's how we met. I've been excited to have you back on because while we were talking about that, my passion right now and my focus is on artificial intelligence and AI. And I think there's a lot of vaporware or myth around AI right now, meaning it's not completely real. We're working within a framework. I get that, but there's still a lot of relevancy with how businesses are using it and looking at it. But let's start with Gartner to VP of Marketing at Hive Pro. How did that transition work? I'm sure you got a lot of insights at Gartner, but talk a little bit about that transition.
Yeah, sure. I'm very grateful to Gartner to begin with. I
Mhm.
started off at Gartner at a very young age, and a young enough age to say that even looking in hindsight, my ears should have been just, I think, more utilized than even my mouth. I should have been totally quiet because I was surrounded by incredibly brilliant people. So I think joining things at a young age, you get to learn a lot. You're really, really thrown into a new world. And when you have such experienced, brilliant people around you, yes, it can be daunting, but wow, it's one of the more formative experiences anyone can have. I joined, maybe I was like 25 or so. So I was
Mhm.
very, very young for what would
Okay.
be a principal analyst. And some things that I learned and why it translates into where I am now. I didn't have any idea at a younger age what my strengths or what my weaknesses could be. And sometimes at a younger age, even like kids, when you put them into sports at an early age or you put them into something, they're not really cognizant of what they're in, but they're building their muscle memory and
Mhm.
they're building a sense of belonging into something. I think that's pervasive for us in all things, especially when we transition into careers. And one thing that Gartner definitely helped me understand is how to focus on one thing and grow into one thing. And cybersecurity happened to be that. There was a very loose path into it prior to. It was like any discovery process we'd go about in our 20s when we're entering into a field. And I was in cyber for 3, 4 years prior, but more at a practitioner level that would not have allowed me to see that there was another way to view technology, another paradigm.
Mhm.
And that is in assessing its efficacy, having used it, one, or having been a part of building it, two.
Oh,
And I've met those people at Gartner, and that's what made this, a very formative experience. So here's what I learned while I was there and what made me transition. I
mhm.
was there for 4 years, just about inching on 5, and it's not as long a tenure as many Gartner analysts have had. It could have afforded more time, but I grew curious about a few things. One was we're put into a position where we are rating vendors and assessing their efficacy. And I really wanted more time to be on the other side of that scrutiny
Hmm.
because you can tell people what to do and where you think that they should go, but telling them as much as a consultant or an analyst or anybody never matches how it actually can be executed and done. It takes a fantastic network of wherewithal to do that, and trust.
Yep.
And trust. So I thought to myself, there were many days I was taking analyst calls from vendors who were demoing their product, very excited about their product. And I would sit back and wonder, what does it take to get to this room, to spend this much money, and to try to impress somebody?
Mm-hmm.
Why do all of that? And so these more meta questions that were coming up, I thought to myself, I'm gonna jump back into a go-to-market world where I'm actually doing the work and helping them do the work
Yeah.
while advising them to show them that it's possible. It's also a test to self. And I think any analyst who goes into the analyst space, either you've already done this test and you're like, I'm good now, I'm going to sit back and let them know my lessons, or two, you're young enough or feel up to the task of leaving and going back and doing the work that you've espoused to say to do for so long. So I said, after 4 years, forget it. I'm going to go back. I'm going to do the work.
Yeah.
And I started off with security strategy at a database company, doing more of the security work, and then said, hold on, I want to do advisory consulting more from a product level and a go-to-market level, because that's what I was nurtured into. That's how I was pretty much brought up in Gartner. So why not exercise that mind? That's what I know best.
Sure.
So that's why I found myself here. Some people will say, why marketing?
Right.
That's
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, it's there's a technical portion of marketing, but yeah, interesting leap to go to marketing. So dive into that a little bit. Like why going from technical to marketing, but technical marketing still, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people find themselves in strategy. Some others will find themselves in product solutions engineering out of Gartner. But most often those big names will be put front and center in front of people and be doing product road mapping and strategy. Now, a lot, and I'm going to call out vendors here, just them. I don't mind. I don't care so much. I think analysts are seen for their worth, their true worth, when they're at an analyst firm. When they leave an analyst firm, I think the script changes at companies. When they join a company, the stature and the respect for an analyst and what they're able to bring to the table looks different. And it's okay. It's not ego related. It's more like, have you forgotten what our potential could be, what we could do, and how we could influence a market? One of the very first ways that analysts can influence a market is either by coming in with a pocket and a network that is undeniable and should be respected. Another is to say, I can predict what's out soon. The very first thing that you're going to interface with is marketing. That's it. Even analysts, they're going to go on a website. They're going to try to get the gist of what you do. And they're going to look at your collateral. That's open source intel collection, what you say you are.
Yep.
And then what you do. I thought the only way for me to control that, and then also to be able to tell our salespeople what to say and what to do, is to be the first in line on messaging. And marketing is, regardless of whatever anyone thinks. What marketing says is what's on the website, no matter what. So people may demean marketing from whatever perspective that they have, but that is the suit you're going outside with. So don't disrespect the tailor, basically.
Right.
And
oh, go ahead.
That's it.
Oh, no, I was saying it's interesting. I want to talk about AI in marketing because I think there's an interesting, it's kind of rattled the industry a little bit, and I'll explain why. And it's being adopted and adapted by the industry. But you hit on something earlier. First, I want to touch on, so when you're talking, you're talking about all your profound just depth of learning experiences you had at Gartner, and you said you wish you would have listened more and talked less back at the beginning. And I laugh about that, and that resonates with me so much. When I was 22 years old, I took over an IT department. And so I was on the senior staff. I was the director of IT, and I would go to boardrooms, and everyone else was 40, 45, and 50 years old, right? So very tenured professionals. I won't say I lucked into it because it was hard work, but I had just happened to be at the right place at the right time. And I still can think of things that I said back then, and this was 20 years ago. And I'm like, why did I say that? Like, who was I
Yeah.
to say such a ridiculous thing? And I can think of specific, I don't even want to say specific instances. I'm probably blushing right now just because I'm so embarrassed by some of the things I said in my youth. And I understand that's you being young, being in our 20s, being ambitious, like, oh, but not knowing, like when to speak and when not to. But it's so interesting. And even now, it's weird that now I probably do, not probably, I do that more. I'm a much better listener now. And I should have been a better listener back then. Right. But it's interesting how that is such a good life lesson.
It is. It is. It's hard for us to go back into our memory and remember some of the things people have told us,
Hmm.
um, and what to practice and what to do. I like it though. If you're able to reach an older age and you're able to say, I have the humility of hindsight,
Hmm.
where I can improve, then at least that's an actionable thing you can improve on later on. I'm still in the process of that improvement. I think all of us are.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we should
um,
be, right? Whether we are or not, we should be. I think I know a lot of people who feel like they've arrived, right? That they're, I'm not one of those at all. I think life is growth and it's fun to look at it like that. So I align more with you. So here's something about, I've had this thought about marketing and AI, and this will go anywhere with AI, but now since we're hitting on marketing and AI, so technology C suites, let's say CTOs, CIOs, VPs of technology, they're overall not big marketing fans. Because they feel like it's a lot of whiz bang stuff. They're pushing, they don't, marketing doesn't understand the technology. They're just trying to push something on me, and it's not even really what it is. And, but at the end of the day, marketing always wins. And I always use SASE as this, secure access server edge as this example. That to me was when I, as an engineer, and when that came out, and I was like, this is such a marketing term. It's just a framework. Why are they calling it that? I'm not going to go along with this. Like it has SD-WAN, right? It's just a framework of stuff that already exists. But guess who won? Marketing ends up winning, right? Marketing is the forefront. They defined it. And at the end of the day, now we're talking about it. And I have a lot of conversations with CTOs, CIOs, like C-suite technology people about AI. It's not even real AI. It's just a framework of AI. It's not even true. Like, what is it marketing doing to us right now? And I agree 100% with that. But at the end of the day, marketing's going to win. The AI is winning the marketing battle, and it's just called AI, whether you like it or not.
I'll speak on this. Is it all right if I speak on
Yeah.
this real quick?
Yeah.
I'm with you. Okay. There's a lot of AI washing happening. And you're absolutely right. I'll just speak to my ideas here.
Hmm.
Um, in 2022, I believe there was a article on BBC, I think. In 2022, only 10% of tech startups were mentioning AI in their pitches. That number is up 33% today.
Right.
So you're on point. You're right. And I think this is because the competition for funding, especially in startups, but a competition for funding and the desire to appear cutting edge is what's pushing them to overstate their capabilities.
Interesting.
Um, right? It's why else use something? Why say it? Well, let's talk to overstating. There's a significant disparity that exists between companies that are claiming to do AI and then
Mhm.
those that are demonstrating tangible AI-driven results.
Yeah.
So
Love that.
even on webcast, I'll say if someone says they do AI, tell me what's going to happen. What is the result of what happened prior to your use of quote unquote AI? And then what AI driven results can I expect? And then how can you display said results to me? Now you're really throwing it on the vendor to say, are you overstating?
Right.
Because yeah, and I would ask for the same. That's why I'm very cautious with it. Some companies claim to use AI when they're actually using less sophisticated computing. And sometimes it falls into weaker AI. We have strong, weak AI. I'll explain those in a minute.
Yeah.
So some companies are using less sophisticated computing. Others are overstating the efficacy of their AI
Mhm.
over existing techniques. So some are saying, well, ours compared to this company. Okay, well, now you've got to explain yourself.
Right.
What are you doing? And some others suggest that their AI solutions are fully operational when they're not. So,
A lot of vaporware.
oh yeah, oh yeah. And then there are those other firms who,
Hmm.
and I'm not going to mention names, but who are bolting on AI chatbots onto their existing non-AI operating software.
Yep.
So all through these, from those claiming they use it when it's less sophisticated training models or computing, others that are overstating the efficacy when there's no proven tangible results, others that are suggesting, well, vaporware,
Mhm.
that they have AI, but you don't even see it in action in their products, let alone even brought to market. And then there's those others that are just bolting on an AI chatbot. Where in this have I seen anything that is really impressive?
Right. Or not
It's
being done before. I mean, and you mentioned machine learning, right? That's been around, I mean, years and years, but definitely very, very strongly started coming around in 2012, especially in cybersecurity and behavioral analytics. And now every cybersecurity company is an AI company. And it's like, you're doing the same behavioral analytics that you were doing, which is it's a frame, it's SASE, right? Frameworks. It's still a framework of AI, but it's not it's not pure AI, but I understand we have to talk about it now as AI, but it's still kind of, no, it's the same thing you were doing 5 years or 2 years ago.
absolutely. Hey, even I'll touch on what people's expectations I think should be of AI with grounding those definitions. But you're right. There's this tech venture firm called MMC Ventures,
Hmm.
did a study in 2019. So even then, did a study on the claims versus the actual cause, what's happening. And they found that 40% of new tech firms that were describing themselves as AI startups barely used any at all. So it's a very good study, and it was conducted then. You can assume that's inflated now.
Right.
Um, in fact, what I really like that's happening is that there is greater scrutiny on this. The U.S. SEC, so that's Security and Exchange Commission for everyone, said that now it's charging investment advisory firms for making false and misleading claims on the extent of their AI use.
Okay.
So we're getting somewhere.
Yeah,
We're getting
that's good.
somewhere.
Now,
But
when I think AI too, I think autonomous, right? Like, is it fully autonomous? Is it making? And I always be careful when I say decisions. And I think, in some essence, especially if you look at smart and intelligent networking and behavioral analytics, there are decisions that need to be made. And a good example is an endpoint detection that might down a computer or disconnect a computer from the network. But I like recommendations, especially when you're talking about autonomous AI in a business. And I think we're going to get there where you're going to have an AI that's going to be able to talk to the entire ecosystem and all the data of the network and make recommendations and decisions and graphs and everything from everything. But when you look at Hive Pro, obviously you have machine learning within your systems, and you do have some, I'd say, some autonomous learning and modules within that. But I also see you guys don't go heavy on the AI. I'm not saying you exclude it, but it's not like your forefront. You're not like in November, every company suddenly was an AI company, and you said like 35, 60% suddenly start talking about it. But where do you guys fall on that? Do you have an AI initiative with what you're doing, or do you just say, hey, we're going to continue to adapt and develop under where you guys have taken the direction of CTEM, and we're going to continue to adapt and develop under that and grow under that? Or do you actually have an AI initiative?
yeah, we are building an AI initiative stronger now. So to give you an idea of, let me ground the definitions because I keep promising to, and then
Okay.
I'll give you an understanding. So for narrow AI, I'm going to call them this narrow AI, and then I'll go to general AI and then super AI. So that's narrow AI. Sometimes we look at weak AI. Then we have general, which is strong, and then super is total human. So, and I sometimes talk about them as soft AI or otherwise, but
Sure.
so narrow AI or weak AI is more to perform a specific task or a set of tasks. So this is what these algorithms can do. Look at Siri, look at Alexa, if you look at AlphaGo. In
Mhm.
fact, if you look at any recommendation system, like if you're using a platform like Netflix, that recommendation system based on the cumulative watches that you've had, as well as what your keyword searches are, etc., that's called the narrow, that's called weak AI. There is no such thing beyond that, meaning there's no such thing really as general or super AI.
Mhm.
So general AI, which is strong AI, is a type of AI that can understand, learn, and apply intelligence across a wide variety of tasks.
Yes.
So it has to be very similar to human cognitive abilities. It can reason,
Hmm.
that, it can plan, it can solve problems. And it's doing this almost autonomously.
Yep.
This isn't, because as humans, we're learning behavior through time in order to act like this. So it depends on the data quality. It depends on the realness to human action. It depends on control on bias. Nevertheless, general or strong AI, there's no true example of this. There's none. ChatGPT is still narrow, and it uses strong machine learning models. And then super AI is true artificial super intelligence. Super AI. There's no such thing. If we can't get to general, we can't get to this, which is something that can solve all major problems because of the wealth.
I do feel like general, I don't want to say right around the corner, but I feel like we are close to some general AI applications. Would you agree with that? I mean, when I say close, maybe a year, 2 years out from true, I'm talking about true general AI. I think we'll have partial general AI, like where it dabbles into it and gets a little bit more advanced. But would you agree that we could actually see some pure general AI or GAI in the next 2 years?
I don't know, it depends, because hypothetical applications include autonomous learning. And the autonomous learning is that learning from new tasks on own and applying domain knowledge from one domain to another. I want to look at the fallibility of it and how close to reason can it be so that it has that sort of cognitive flexibility. Like, can it reason, plan, and solve in any field? Can it adapt dynamically? So that dynamic adaptation is one. And a lot of that depends on processing power. A lot of that depends as well on the quality of data. There's some cool things that are happening. Okay, I'll tell you, okay, I can kind of see it. I know that Microsoft Azure, as of recently, they developed an AI search tool, and the AI search tool can access internal corporate data, and then without moving it or even replicating it, they can source that data and use it iteratively. So already we're solving a big problem with security and also duplicate and far more storage being used. That's one really good one. And then OpenAI recently made an acquisition, a pretty strong one, a $200 million acquisition of something called Rockset. And Rockset is a company that develops data infrastructure that lets AI models access and process time-sensitive data. So reliable information in a time-sensitive manner. This might be any instances that have happened to market conditions. How close to real time can you get that? And OpenAI intends to build that Rockset technology into its own stack. And maybe that can be a good way for us to understand whether or not we're ready for qualification into something like Gen AI, like GAI, general AI. So I'm talking about autonomous and cognitive flexibility.
So this is great because I rarely even I'm rarely able to talk to someone who I'm able to get into even this kind of depth with AI. And this is interesting. Now it gets into, I always have the conversation about the moral debate of humanity keeping humanity within business. And right now, when you're talking about this, where we're at with narrow AI, of course, for the most part, humans aren't at risk for losing their job because the human still is stronger with AI and still can make the conscious decisions and some of the other stuff that you're talking about. General AI, GAI, maybe we get to the point where maybe some human jobs might be, but I like to think reimagined or repurposed to be able to do something still more complex and more human-like. But I think there will be a need for businesses to keep their humanity, keep the human touch. And I think people even now are recognizing, I mean, I get emails that I used to never recognize that are AI written. And at first I never recognized them. Now I'm just like, I'm keen to meet with you. I'm like, no one's keen to meet with me, right? Like words like that. And I'm starting to see more usage of AI. And I'm like, man, I miss that human touch from people. And I think that's starting to happen now. What do you see with that as far as humanity and business being able to keep the human touch?
Okay, well, let's look at some of the jobs that can be replaced immediately. Let's make it real. And then talk about how we feel about it. So one, administrative and clerical jobs. So jobs involving routine data entry, scheduling, other repetitive tasks. If I look at data entry clerks, if I look at administrative assistants, AI can process and manage data more efficiently. And tasks such as scheduling, such as email management, even basic comms, they can be automated by virtual assistants. But here's the catch. That's a very simple one, right?
Yeah.
Maybe an admin assistant, maybe something really random happens, sporadic happens immediately, and you need somebody to manage and handle that. A virtual AI assistant or a chat bot will not get you to something, much like me calling a call center and them constantly making me go through rounds of buttons until I get to an operator who just gets me.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
we always need that, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't see where the human touch would be lost. I just see where efficiency would create it so that the human can maximize their time and serve more people.
Yeah.
And an administrative an administrative assistant task like that, I can see administrative assistants improving their work, maximizing their work output, and perhaps serving a good more number of businesses as contractors rather than having to be a part of one enterprise itself because the hands are so full at one enterprise. So they can maximize their income while utilizing tools like this so that they can free up their time and other businesses don't have to suffer still, and it's more reliable. So I don't see that job immediately going away. But if I look at manufacturing and production jobs, this is where it gets a little iffy. Assembly line workers, we've seen that happen. This is not new. We know that robots can perform repetitive assembly line tasks, right?
Yep.
And with greater precision. We see the same thing happen with machine operators. So automated machines can do complex manufacturing processes and they don't need human intervention. But if the operational part doesn't need human intervention, what does?
Yeah.
And that's the operation of the robotic.
Yep.
So whoever's doing assembly line work, maybe they're running into a management position on robotics. Maybe that's what's being asked of them. Otherwise, if someone is seeking just plain work like that, it could be for businesses who cannot afford robotics because it's not a ubiquitous, affordable technology yet. So they have to look for the opportunity where they can find it. I hope I'm making sense here. Just
Yeah,
by
it is. It's interesting as you look and I like how you always follow up with, well, where can we use the human, right? Where does the human touch make sense with that? And it might be my head in the clouds an ideology of where I'd like to see AI go. And I want to see it used as something that helps give time back to the employee. I don't want to see businesses be like, well, now you have this much time, so now we're going to squeeze every single drop. And we're seeing more and more in management that that's not the approach to take with employees. And we're looking at more things of the employee experience and mental health and other things that are being looked at in business that weren't looked at before. And I think AI has a huge potential to be able to, again, reimagine and repurpose where the humans go to be more efficient and more effective in the business. And it might be new positions, it might be new ways of doing things, but while also giving the employee and the person back time and just a better experience in their life. And if you look at this younger generation coming up who has a hard time working 40 hours a week, and there's this whole talk of like, well, we need to be 25, 30 hours a week. Well, if I'm a strong believer that if I pay my employee to do something and they can do what I pay them to do in 25 hours a week or 30 hours a week, well, I'm not going to force you to work 40 hours a week. I don't believe in forcing employees to live up to a time constraint, but more to a KPI. Like, this is what you need to do during your day. And if you do it, then you're done. I don't know if you agree with that, or else if you're falling more on, hey, look, employees need to be a little tighter managed, but I'm hoping we get more back to the employees.
That last point, I absolutely do. Micromanaging isn't my style of management. And I hold to that. Although I also want to look at the company bottom line
Of
as
course.
a mission for all of us to move forward. So if I'm going to offer a competitive salary for a number of hours, rationally, humans, come on, we don't get optimal work done, and many studies are done on this beyond 5 hours of a day. If I'm preparing my team to minimize that to even 2.5 hours a day because I've given them enough technology that will allow them to get there, then I would make it a part of my management style to say, for the rest of the hours that you have, now that you have ease, let's use your creative and cognitive abilities to find room for improvement. So where can we win now? Now that I've given enough time back to you, because the more time you have, the more creative you can think.
It's a
The
good
less
point.
time you have, you can't.
Yep.
Right. So I want to afford back that same amount of time. If I'm giving you 8 hours in a day, you have lunch, you have things, you're getting things done for 5. If you get everything done within 2.5 to 3, show me where we can be better. And if I'm a receptive manager, like I am receptive to that, if someone says this is definitely going to save time and save costs, let's do it. Because now you can tell me how I can beat my competition. And I'm going to rely on you with all the time you've gained to up your creativity and learning so you can come back and make this better. That's my investment. My investment is you spend less time on really mundane operational tasks because I'm investing in technology to get you there.
Mhm.
Now improve the process as a person and now improve the experience of the function.
Yeah, I like that. And that still does, I think the mundane tasks are what really can drive people crazy. I think that's what
Oh,
most
yeah.
people hate about their job and the lack of creativity that they have. So I think that's a good point is there's still, I mean, there's obviously still an expectation as far as we're paying you this and we need a, X and we need to receive Y for what we're paying you. And I think that's a good point though. And it still goes back to repurposing the employees and helping and just help giving them more, but also setting proper expectations with it. So that's I like how you put that. That's very well, very well put. Very exciting. So I'm going to give you last thoughts. I also want you to be able to talk a little bit about if you want to talk about Hive Pro, if you want to tell people how to get in touch with you and Hive Pro. I believe you guys are doing some very unique stuff in the industry from a cybersecurity aspect and just it's a new, I won't say it's a new approach, but it's a different approach than what's being done by a lot of other vendors right now, and I think it's more effective, and it's that defense in depth that we always talk about in cybersecurity. So last thoughts, go ahead and I'll just hand it off to you.
Thank you. Well, first off, thanks for having me on here. I think we can talk about so much regarding AI. So I'm glad you're building this platform to do that with people. And more about me, I think you can just visit me on LinkedIn at Zaira Pirzada. I'm trying to be more an influencer. I don't know, I have many thoughts, ideas, and things I like to read, share, and I read a lot of people's things, engage with a lot of people's things. But please do connect with me. I'm always happy to start a conversation. Right now, I am mid-degree in my master's for data science at Hopkins, so I'm
Nice.
working. Yeah, I'm working pretty hard
Keeping
at really trying
busy.
to understand it. Yeah, and keeping my mind in it. So for as much as anyone could start a conversation with me, I'm happy to learn. And as far as Hive Pro goes, I really appreciate you saying that, the innovative factor of what we're doing. What I see as the future is proactive preventative care. And I believe that for everybody. A
Mhm.
lot of the world is going into more holistic measures to take care of themselves, understanding that the source of truth regarding what we consume and everything that we do, we have agency in. I think more people are getting empowered and they're following more holistic practices in their life,
Mhm.
taking care of themselves and watching the world as a construct of how well they take care of themselves. And I hope that we're all getting there. And that's the same mentality we're taking towards technology. When you're proactive and preventative regarding threats or issues that can occur, the less you have to react and respond and put out fires. I think that's what continuous threat exposure management is. It's to its name, continuously monitoring and mitigating the threat exposure that you have so that you're more resilient as an enterprise and you can get to these places we talk about, enabling yourself with AI so that you can be more resilient overall, save yourself some time, and live a good life. And we're looking to do that as far as threat exposure goes, because that's our entire discipline. Our entire discipline is cyber defense. And we want to teach you how you can do it better from the start. So then at the end, when you're getting to incident response, you have the right team that's not burnt out and that already understands where these threats could be coming from. So they are 2 steps ahead, even if it has infiltrated. That's what we're doing. If you'd like to know how, beyond the jargon, beyond the AI, you can reach out to me and we can talk about it. And maybe it'd be best suited for you. Who knows? But I think it's starting the conversation that matters.
Wow. Zaira, your insights are, I always like talking to you because they're informed, they're articulated well, there's value to it. They're profound. I mean, I could literally talk to you for hours. And just like last time when we first met, I appreciated that conversation, and this one just jumping on with me. I absolutely appreciate it. I'm excited I'll rewatch this episode myself. Just again, just listening to you talk, because you are very articulate and well spoken. So thank you so much. I look forward to collaborating with you. And again, thank you.
Thank you, Ben. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.